Hello, hello, hello. Happy Monday, y'all. And welcome to Faith, Purpose, Profit, what I like to call FPP Live, a time we gather every Monday at 7 p.m. EST. And I connect for you all things faith, purpose, and profit. Excited to be here as you're coming in. Tell me hello. Those of you that are joining me live, tell me where you're joining from. And ahead of time, let me tell you now, I always want to know the value you get out of these episodes because ultimately I'm here to pour into you. And so, with that said, I am continuing a series we started last week. And that series is Why Business is Important to God. And so I give you some foundational insight, and I really want to encourage you. If you ever miss any episodes, by the way, of any of these on Monday, I do a recap on Fridays. So on Friday, you can catch the recap from the entire week on my podcast, which is fpppodcast.com. That's Friday at 5 p.m. EST where it goes live, but you can always go back. So if you missed part one, I want to encourage you to go back and listen to it because the way I teach, each thing I teach, one builds on the next. So you'll need part one to understand part two, and you three, four, five, and six. And who knows if God is going to make a part seven, part eight? I don't know. But with that said, today we're talking about why or what a relay can teach you. Or really what a relay teaches you about having a successful business. And when I'm talking about a successful business, I'm talking about a God ordained business because again, business is important to God. So we're going to dig deeper and deeper into the conversation. And when I was thinking about this conversation I'm having with you in this episode, it made me think about one of two sports I played when I was in junior high, because I started trying to be cute. And so I didn't play sports in high school. But in junior high, one of the two sports that I played, I was on the track and field team for my school. And when you think about a relay race, so a relay race is a race that's run with a team. It's not about you, it's about the group of people. And the most important part about a relay race is not about how fast you're running. It's about how you pass that baton. Because if you don't pass the baton right, oh, I remember getting yelled at about this. Or if you don't catch it right, because I was always the last runner, so I would always catch it right. But listen, if you don't pass it right, it falls. That stops you because somebody else, the next team is running while you're trying to get the baton. Oh, and it gets points taken away from you too. Or if you don't catch it right, you drop it. Either way. So the relay race is about two things: the toss, or really the passing of the baton, and your ability to catch it. So I need y'all to really get this. I need you to understand that God is tossing to us all day, every day. And so there's two areas I really want to hone in on as we look at what a relay can teach you. And I'm gonna start with these two, but then I'm gonna break them down either further, right? Y'all with me? Okay. So there's two areas. The first is that God tossed to you, God handed off to you your purpose. Now, if you've been around me in my community, you know I talk about purpose all the time, so I'm not going to dig deep into purpose. What I want to dig deep here, and these two correlate, as the other thing God handed off is his image to each of us. Okay. So let me read. I love that more of you guys are saying hello. I see y'all. Hey, hey, hey. So listen, I want to read Genesis 1:26 through 27. Now, you guys know, those of you that are here with me every day or every week, my foundational Bible verse to what I teach is Genesis 1:28. I'm reading the first two verses before that. Okay. And here's what it says. Then God said, let us make man in our own image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female. He created them. Now, it said created them about three times. Did y'all catch that? It says, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. So the thing that I think is interesting is none of us are exactly like God. There's a little piece of us. Each of us have a little remnant of God in us. And when we all do what we do collectively, that's when we bring God's dominion on earth, y'all. So deep. So when we look at what is an image, when I was thinking about this and writing my notes, I was thinking of a pattern. Now, those of you that know me, you know I love to shop. I don't know why my lipstick is looking crazy tonight. I love to shop. And so when I was really in this place in my own journey of trying to figure out what my purpose is, I thought maybe my purpose was shopping. Maybe I meant to shop for other people. Maybe I meant to work in the fashion world. And so I took a fashion class. And then I realized, by the way, they only like to shop for me. I didn't care about thread count. I didn't care about colors on other people. I only cared about colors on me. But here's the point in me bringing this up right now. An image, when you're creating something, you're going to make a pattern out of it. Now, the definition of a pattern is something designed or used as a model for making things. It's a form or model proposed for imitation. So God is our form. But the thing that you've got to get is, although we are each patterned after God, all of us have a little piece of him. None of us are all of him. That was, by the way, Eve's issue. She was trying to be all of God instead of being happy with where she was. And that's what the enemy was saying to her. Oh, God doesn't want you to be like him. So he's telling you not to eat that fruit. And the thing that I think is interesting is the reason we have issues with this is the very thing I want to talk about. I'm going to break this down further, but this is the first thing I really want you to fully think about. If God has patterned each of us, he's given us each a special piece of his image. That's called your DNA. That's your distinct natural ability. So your purpose is the piece of God that's in you. The thing you're great at is that piece of God that's in you. Matter of fact, he put you there to use that to bring kingdom on earth. I talked about that part one. I'm not going to dig into that. But the reason this whole image conversation is so important is the more you get to know God, the more you understand who he is and you see him at work in you. This is why I'm not about religion. I'm about relationship. Because you can read the Bible and read the Bible and read the Bible. You can go to church every Sunday and still not have relationship and still not understand the piece of God's image that's in you. So you need more than religion. You need to have a relationship. Mhm. Y'all get me? You with me? Okay. See, images are meant to display the brilliance, the magnificence, the fabulousness of the original. Now, there's a quote here. Now, those of you that were here with me, part one, you know, I told you I'm studying because I'm working on my next book. So when I tell you it's a quote, I don't know where I got it. I wrote it down as a note. So I'm going to read the quote. It says, the point is to glorify the original. The point is to glorify the original. God made humans in his image so that the world will be filled with reflectors of God. Think about what a reflector is. You know, even if I go back to something that I did when I was little, how many of you guys used to ride your bike when you were little? So, in order for you not to get hit at night, what was on your bike? Reflectors. So it emitted light so that you could see on a dark path or so that a car in the dark could see you. So, as you are images of God, you are that reflector, that image. That's that let your light so shine among men and women. Matthew 5:16, that they may see your light and glorify your Father in heaven. That's that image, that light, that reflector that magnifies God. Now, even Paul said this in Philippians 1:20. He said, according to my earnest expectation and hope that in nothing I shall be ashamed, but with all boldness as always. So now also Christ will be magnified in my body, whether by life or by death. Now, Paul was going through some things, but I want to read to you what it says in my Tony Evans Bible commentary. So you guys know, if you've been with me, I always read and dig and study every time I feel led or get to a Bible verse that I think kind of is speaking to this. Now I'm gonna read the Bible verse again so you get it. Okay. And again, I'm talking about us using who we are to magnify God, which is magnifying the piece of God that's in us. It's that microchip, that DNA, whatever way you want to look at it. Okay. So Philippians 1:20 says, according to my earnest expectation, this is Paul talking, and hope that in nothing I shall be ashamed, in nothing, but with all boldness, as always. So now also Christ will be magnified in my body, whether in life or in death. Either y'all gonna see it now or you're gonna realize it after I'm gone. But I'm gonna do everything I can according to my earnest expectation. Okay. So here's what it says in my Tony Evans Study Bible. He says, again, this is him talking about Paul. He says, eager expectation. I said, This one says earnest. So whatever version he's talking about says eager. Eager expectation and hope is that he will not be ashamed about anything his life and ministry. Excuse me, let me start over. He says his eager expectation is hope, and hope is that he will not be ashamed about anything in his life and ministry, but will proclaim Christ with all courage. Because of his love for and commitment to Christ, Paul's main concern is that Christ will be highly honored, whether by life or by death. The thing I want you guys to get here is he says that he will not be ashamed about anything, that God is going to be proud of him because he did the work that he was put here to do. So if God put a little piece of his image in you, just like a computer has a little chip in it, and the goal of that chip is to make that computer run. Now, I don't know about new computers. That's back in the day computers. And even if I think about the little chip that's in my phone that I'm using for my timer right here in front of me, my iPhone, if I take it out of this iPhone and put it in another one, it makes it work so that all my data is on that phone. If you think about it like that, there's a little piece, a little data piece inside of you that is a reflector of God. Okay. So as you start to look at, and we're going to break this down so you guys know that we do a part one and a part two. So there's two pieces you've got to be clear on in order to be that reflector of God. One is that God is relational. I'm going to talk about that in part two. For part one, I want to talk about this area of calling, of purpose, of your assignment. And I want to break it down in a different way and give you a different perspective around it. Y'all ready? Okay. Because I really want you to understand this is about how God is handing three things off to you around your purpose. Okay. Number one, God has given each of us the ability to create. He has given each of us the ability to create. Psalms 19:1 says, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament shows his handiwork." Now that's New King James. By the way, most times when I read, I always read from New King James. But listen to the Message version. It says, "God's glory is our tour in the skies. God craft on God craft on exhibit across the horizon. Madam Day hosts classes every morning. Professor Knight lectures every evening." Now, what's so interesting is when you think about all those things, I know some of y'all are like, "Nicole, what's this got to do about my gift?" But again, if it's saying that God is glory in the tour of our skies, how is God glorified in the tour of your life, of your work, of your career, of your business, even of your family, how you treat people? How is God glorified in the tour of your life? Deep, right? See, God's granted each of us an ability to perceive things and create things and see things that can be done with things. So there's no coincidence that I have a natural propensity to produce people, that I can see people's gift and see all the ways you can make money from it, which is about profit, not just for you, but for all the people that profit from it. So whatever that is for you, that's not a coincidence. That's that little chip, that microchip of God in you. So he's giving you the ability to create. And when you create, it, it lets off kind of like a spiral effect because it then blesses the people that are in alignment to get it. Y'all with me? So the thing that's really deep, and here's my quote for here: we're to care for and develop what God has entrusted to us in ways that will honor him and benefit others. Point blank, period. So if I use this from a perspective of a runner, so one of the things that, and by the way, if you've seen even if you've never played sports yourself, if you've watched any sport movie, whether it's a basketball movie, whether it's a boxing movie, which seems like those are the two I always seem to watch, the goal in the athlete training, even if you look at Venus and Serena, the goal in the athlete's training is to grow in their giftedness. God has given you the ability to create, but you have free will. He's not going to make you do it. He's not going to make you grow it. He's going to let you choose. And then when you choose it, you got to be willing to do all it takes to grow it. Because just because you know it's there doesn't mean it's automatically going to be the thing and cause the solution to the problem you were meant to solve. You've got to do the work to grow it and develop it. So God gives you the ability to create. Then you've got to be willing to grow it. So from an athlete, a relay runner's perspective, is about the strength of who you be. So when I look at myself back in the day, in the 8th grade was the last time I ran a race, my ability on my team was that I didn't run fast. I still don't run fast. My gift was that I had crazy endurance. So while everybody else was getting tired because they were running fast, I would always win because I would get a second wind at the end. And so my strength was learning and growing that breath about me. So in my practice, I would run longer and longer and increase my endurance. So my question to you is, how are you taking your ability that God has given you and growing it? The second thing that's in alignment with that is understanding the value tied to it. And I think this is some of the biggest issues I see, and I think I know because I hear from y'all, whether it's in Facebook Live and you make comments here, whether you send us inbox messages. Some of you we hear from Clubhouse on Clubhouse, okay, is that you do not know the value that your brilliance has. So if I give you a foundational Bible verse here, it's Psalms 139:14. I will praise you for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. But many of you are telling God, well, I'm not good enough and I'm not smart enough. Many of you have imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome, by the way, is believing that you're not capable or that someone's going to find out that you don't know what you're doing. Now, listen, if you are understanding that you are called to create, that God is giving you the ability to create, and you're growing your gift, you might not be where you want to be yet. But just like Venus and Serena, who might be working to grow their gift, if you watch the movie when their dad was working them out, doesn't mean they weren't already good on the level they were at, but they weren't trying to stay there. They were trying to grow their gift. So it doesn't discount where they are right now. And many of you are not standing in your worth. What's that look like? You're not charging your worth. Many of you are not comfortable in making a sale, which is just an invitation for me to be able to serve you. Just like a sale for you is an invitation for you to be able to serve who needs you. Without the clarity, without you knowing your worth, you won't ever ask for the sale. And many people get tied or stopped just right there. And what you're saying is, God, you made junk. God, you didn't know what you were doing. God, I'm not valuable. I'm not worth it. I remember one time a woman came to me. I may have shared this with you guys before. And she told me she was led to me by God. And I said, okay. And I still talk to you. I still want to know it's a good fit. I still want to see if what area in my business is right for where you are. Because I don't ever sell, I serve. But in my serving is an invitation and you get to pay for it. I don't serve from an empty cup, meaning I don't do what I do for free. Because when I profit, you profit. And when you profit, all those that need you profit. So I know my value. I know my worth. I know the brilliance I bring to the table when I get to coach you. So as a woman was talking to me and asking me all these questions about, we were talking about what she was looking for and what I did. And I said, oh, yes, that's this program. I started walking her through the program and I told her how much she got. She goes, oh, I did. I said, did you think it was going to be free? Girl, I don't serve for free. Well, and then she started trying to talk me down. I said, listen, when you're ready to be obedient, I'll be here. But until then, this is how much I cost. And really, when you're investing in me, you're not investing in me. You're investing in the gift that God gave you. And the reason I said when you're ready to be obedient is God is never going to ask you to do what you do and make it comfortable, ever. Because comfortable means you're not stretching to grow. Hello, again, God called you to create, but it gives you free will. So if you want to stay at whatever, how old Venus and Serena were they 8 when they started playing tennis? If you want to stay at the 8-year-old version, stay there. That would not have been an Olympic athlete. For me, when I was running track, the reason I started doing better and better in my little track meets, I don't know where my ribbons are, but that was like, probably 30 years ago. Might have been 40. Let me not age myself. It's because I kept running longer distances in my practices. I kept doing all these cross country runs. Now, can I run now like that? I'd have to work myself back up because I've been out of practice. The point I'm making here is that you've got to know your worth and be willing to do what it takes to grow it. So if I say it from a athlete's place, what's your personal best? And how do you push yourself past that personal best? hmm And then if you're going to move into this new arena for yourself and grow yourself, you got to look at what you're feeding yourself. Like, what mindset are you saying that, oh, I'm not smart enough, or oh, they're going to find out what I'm doing? Mm-mm. If you can't believe in you, then believe in God's version of you. There have been times in my business where I get these opportunities and I'm like, ooh, I can't do that. But I'm like, okay, Lord, you must believe I can do it. So let me find my courage and belief in myself the way you believe in me. And I don't fake it till I make it. I be it till I see it. That's what I call it. It's called walking in faith. And many of you want to be able to see it instead of trusting God in the middle of it. See, God did not make a mistake when he created you. He knew exactly how he was going to use you. That's why you have a natural propensity for some things. You're really great at some things and you really are horrible at some other things because you have no business doing that. or it might be an area to grow. But you got to take the time to really get clear on how did God create you and what way are you called to create or produce? What's the thing your hand does well? And guess what? This is not just an entrepreneurial conversation. Each one of you, many of my ideal clients are working a 9 to 5 as they build their business. So even as you're working your 9 to 5, your gift is still building something in that business. You're a piece of a larger system that's creating something that's an answer to somebody's problem. Every business is an answer. So, how are you using your gift to create the answer to the people your business serves? Whether you're working someone else's business or you're working yours, whether you're building somebody else's $1 billion brand or you're building your own. How will you stand and know your value and stop doing stuff for free, stop doing stuff and you're exhausted doing it? You know, I really believe that the Black church has done us a disservice. I talked about this on part 2 last week because many of us serve and serve and serve and serve and serve and serve for free. I'm going to read a Bible verse all about that in a second. And literally, we think we have to be like this whole servant. But I want you to understand, and God said this to me because this was me too. So you ain't alone, by the way, if that's you. When I finally had this epiphany moment after I hired my first coach who cost 3 times what I made a year, he said to me, service and struggle should never coexist. But see, the problem was I didn't know my value. Wasn't that my smarts didn't shift, my brains didn't get any bigger. I was already playing big. I just didn't know my value. So for many of you, you're discounting yourself. And I want you to understand that God didn't create you to be a Chevy. He didn't create you to be a Nova. He didn't create you to be a Capri. He didn't create you to be a Mustang. He created you to be a Bentley. And a Bentley never goes on sale. So stop acting like a Chevy. Stop acting like a Audi. Audis are great, but an Audi's not a Bentley. Come on, somebody. And be the Bentley God created you to be. Know your value. No, you don't have to discount your brilliance for anybody. But the question is, do you know your value? The third area. So one is God gave each of us the ability to create. And it's really to produce. He's giving you ability to produce something so special for a group of people that need you. So are you producing it? The second is, do you know the value tied to that? I will praise you for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. I love that it says that my soul knows very well. That means that the writer of Psalms had a relationship, which we know is King Solomon, but he had a relationship. When he says, my soul knows so well, he's not just saying, I will praise you for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made just on GP. It means that he took the time to get to know God and get to know the chip that was in him, get to know that little piece of DNA and live it full out. I will praise you for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Even if you don't believe it, I want to encourage many of you to take that Bible verse, Psalms 139:14, write it on your mirror and look at yourself dead in the mirror every morning and say to yourself, I will praise you, Lord, for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. Now I know the first part because I used to have to say that to myself, and I've been through some things in my breakups and relationships. I will praise you, Lord, for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, and the man that meets me will know it so well. Because I had to remind myself that I'm a gift. And that even if this man didn't get it, the next man would appreciate me, the right man, because I'm not meant to be with every man. And in the same vein, in your business, you're not meant to serve everyone. You're not meant to do everything. There's one area that God created you to do the thing that you do in. And that moves us to number 3, which is God has given each of us authority. Now, I talked about dominion in part 1. Again, I'm not going to dig into this deep, but I want you to get this. Authority means influence or command thought, opinion, or behavior. It means a person in command. There's an arena that God created you to have command over. That's the place that you're called to produce in. That's the place that you need to know your value. Oh, listen, there's a whole lot of things that I'm not good at. Oh, and I can tell you, I can write a whole list of the things I'm not good at. But I can tell you all the things that I am phenomenal at because I know my authority. And my question to you is, do you know yours? This Bible verse here that talks about the servant piece too, so good, is John 15:14-16. I'm going to read some other parts of John chapter 15 in our part 2. So I want you to really get John 15 as kind of our foundation for this whole conversation this week. So here's what it says again, John 15:14 through 16. It says, "You are my friends if you do whatever I command you." This is Jesus talking to the disciples, by the way. "You are my friends if you do whatever I command you. No longer do I call you servants, for a servant does not know what his master is doing. But I have called you friends, for all things that I heard from my Father I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should remain. That whatever you ask the Father in my name, he may give it to you." Okay. Now, as I read that, there's so many pieces to that, but let me read what my commentary says because so good. Hold on, let me find it. My little marker. Okay, here's what it says in my Tony Evans commentary. Okay. Jesus told his disciples, again, this is John 15:14 through 16, y'all. Okay. Jesus told his disciples that they were not mere servants to him. There's that servant piece, and serve and serve and serve. Listen, slavery is over. And yet I had the slave mentality around my gift. Oh, yeah, I'm out in myself. Maybe this ain't you, but this is me. Where I was doing everything for free. And some of you don't know your value, and therefore you're giving away your brilliance. And 9 times out of 10, you probably are doing so much of it because it's in what I call your your oh God, it just went out of my head. You know, when you somebody tell me when you driving down the street and they make you blind spots. That's the word I'm looking for. When you drive down the street, you have to turn your head. It's in your blind spots, you don't even realize it. And so you would give it away for free. That was me for years. Jesus told his disciples that they were not mere servants to him. They were his friends. A master doesn't reveal things to a servant, but friends do. Jesus had made known to his disciples everything he had heard from his Father. And hasn't God made everything known to us? It's in the Bible. That means we're God's friends if we choose to be. It goes on to say, when the Bible refers to God's choice or election of people, it's a choosing of, it's a choosing for service, not salvation. You heard that? It's a choosing for service. Now, of course, we all want to be saved, but God's choosing you to live in service to the kingdom here on earth. Jesus chose his disciples so that they would produce fruit that would be useful to his kingdom and reflect God's character. He didn't simply save them for heaven only, he appointed them to a mission on earth. See, that authority is your mission here on earth. The same way the disciples had a mission, you have a mission. The same way that Jesus had a mission, you have a mission. The same way that Dr. Martin Luther King had a mission, you have a mission. The same way Mother Teresa had a mission, you have a mission. The same way, dare I say, Barack Obama had a mission, you have a mission. The same way Nelson Mandela had a mission, you have a mission. Do I need to keep going or are you getting my point? There is one area that God created you to have authority over. And I see so many people that aren't doing it. And that's that piece of God's image in you that all he wants you to do is multiply it and really magnify it. Now, listen, there's a difference between, I had a note here, between, because I want to say this right. There's a difference between a telescope and a microscope. Okay. When we talk about magnify, I want you to get this. There's a difference between a telescope and a microscope. So a microscope makes small things look larger. A telescope makes huge things that we can see it closer up. Doesn't make it smaller. It allows you to see it up close and personal. So God's greatest desire for us is that we see him up close and personal. That we see a telescope that we can magnify him in us. How do you do that if you don't take the time to get to know him and get to know how God created you? So as we end this part one, y'all know I got some questions for you, okay? And I really want you to think about these. And part two, we're going to break down the second area. So this first is God's image. The second part is God is relational. How do those two relate? Oh, I'm going to break it down for you in part two. But before we get to part two, here's what I want you to think about. How does your work magnify God? How does it manifest the glory of God? How do people see the God in you? Like Mary would say, it's the God in me. Hey, right? That song, y'all, that song's one of my favorite songs anyway. How are you using your gifts and talents to create or to produce? And how is what you create useful to others? How is it useful? You're not everybody's answer, But who is being blessed when you do what you do? Again, when I look at who I am, and I overlooked this for years, I have a natural gift to produce. I've been doing this since I was 7 years old. My friends in my elementary school reminded me of one of their weddings, how I used to do this when we were little. And then I worked in the entertainment industry in casting and producing and production. What do I do now? I cast you. I put you in the right role of your purpose in your business and produce all the ways you should profit from it. And when I'm talking about profit, I'm talking about gain for the kingdom and for you. Because when you make more money, you can do more in the world. But you've got to understand three things. When you look at God's image inside of you, God is giving you the ability to produce, to create. What are you creating from that thing that you're great at? Even if you look at your business, if you look at what your role at work, what are you a part of? What is that gift inside of you creating when you do that thing that you do? Second is a value title. Do you know your value? Are you standing in it? Are you unapologetic about it? Are you limiting who you are? Are you like dimming your light because you're afraid that you're going to offend somebody because you're shining? I remember when I used to play small because I was too afraid that I might offend people. I don't care anymore because my goal is to glorify God. And here's what I know: the more I shine, more of you come to me that are a great fit. And when people say to me, "Oh, you're a lot," it means that I'm not a good fit for you. If I'm too much for you, okay, I'm not offended by that. I am a lot, but I'm a whole lot of good stuff for the right people. But you got to know your value when other people won't, and other people don't, because what you're doing is reflecting the God in you. And some of that is none of your business. That's between them and God if they think you too much. Anyway, and the third is God is giving you authority over a specific area. Some people call this a niche. I need you to understand that you've got to get clear on what that area is. And this is what I call dominating in your lane. See, when you're a sprinter, you've got to stay focused on your lane and stay in your lane. So you're not looking to the person running to the left or the right of you. I got really good at this with the relay race thing. If I stay focused and I was looking at my goal and just stayed tunnel vision all the way to the end and I just kept running, focusing on that goal, I would win every time, y'all. I didn't care about where the people were on the, because when I'm looking to the side of me, I'm running kind of off a little bit. So you've got to be clear on where you are and how you're allowing the image of God to be magnified through you. All right. So we're going to dig deeper into this whole conversation of living out the image of God as we dig into part two. Again, those of you that are always with us, you know we do part two tomorrow morning, Clubhouse. So I'm going to invite you to join me. Let me tell you why I do these in part one and part two. The why I do the lives in part one and part two. It's because I want to give you time to marinate on this first part. So the first part is always the foundation. The part two is always a dig deeper because I kind of summarize this part and then I go into the next. And I do this because listen, if you're like me, look, I've been saved since I was in the sixth grade. But I didn't have a relationship. I didn't start to have a relationship until I was 23. Sixth grade, but 11 to 23. And then even then I had so much stuff I had to work through in my own issues that it was hard for me to have a relationship with God when I couldn't have a relationship with myself. And if I can't relate with myself, how do I relate to the God inside of me? It took me years to get to this place. So it's not an overnight thing. It's an ongoing thing. Even if I think about the relationship I have with my husband, and I have a phenomenal relationship with my husband. We finish each other's sentences, both of us thinking songs. And so I'll sing he'll say a word and I'll finish the lyric and we just laugh. But we've been together. We have a relay. And we're going to talk about that relay tomorrow. And it's critical for you to live out your God given assignment. Why is business important to God? Because part of it is that it's a relay. All right. So with that, I look forward to you joining me tomorrow morning for Clubhouse. Listen, if you've gotten any value out of this conversation, as I ask you this every week, I want you to share the one thing you've gotten out of our conversation for today. And I also want to encourage you to ask others to join us. I do these live conversations every Monday because listen, faith, purpose, profit. This is all about the faith piece that you need to have around you. Those of you that want to move your purpose and your profit forward, I have a program called FPP Circle that does that. But these free conversations I do Monday night, it's to give you the lens around that faith arena so that your profit can create, so that your purpose can create profit. And it's not, I need one or the other. It's an and thing. You need both. You need to connect faith with purpose and profit if you're going to be the one true thing God has created you to do in this world. All right. So with that, again, share one thing valuable. If you have questions, thoughts, comments, want to hear that too. I read every comment here in our Facebook group, or excuse me, not Facebook group. I read every comment here on my live every week. All right. So with that, I look forward to many of you joining me tomorrow to continue the conversation as we dig in part two. Have a phenomenal evening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, y'all. I see so many